Once upon a time, in the sleepy town of St. Petersburg, there lived three adventurous boys named Tom, Huck, and Joe. They weren't like the other kids in town. They longed for excitement and adventure. One sunny afternoon, while sitting under their favorite tree, Tom hatched a plan. "Let's become pirates," he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Huck's eyes widened. "Pirates? We'll sail the mighty Mississippi like real outlaws." Joe clapped his hands in excitement. "And we'll make our own rules on our secret island." The three of them quickly agreed on a plan, their destination, Jackson's Island. Far enough from the prying eyes of the town, it was the perfect hideaway for three daring young pirates. Under the cloak of night, Tom, Huck, and Joe sneaked into their kitchens. From Tom's house, they grabbed a loaf of bread and a jar of jam. Huck snuck away with a stack of pancakes, and Joe brought along a sackful of apples. With their stolen bounty tucked away in their backpacks, the boys tiptoed to the edge of the river where an old, creaky raft awaited them. "Aye, Captain Tom," Huck grinned, fashioning a pirate hat from an old newspaper. The boys climbed aboard, their hearts pounding with excitement tinged with a hint of fear. Slowly, they pushed the raft into the water, its wooden base groaning as it adjusted to the river's gentle flow. As they floated away from the shore, the moonlight danced on the water, guiding their way towards Jackson's Island. The town faded into the distance and, with it, their daily troubles and the watchful eyes of parents. "We're free!" Joe exclaimed, echoing everyone's thoughts. When they finally reached Jackson's Island, the boys marveled at its wild beauty. Tall trees, chirping crickets, and a whispering breeze made it the perfect pirate haven. The trio set up camp, fashioning a shelter from fallen branches and leaves. As the sun rose the next day, Tom, Huck, and Joe explored their island, scrambling over rocks and sword fighting with sticks through thick bushes. They feasted on apples and pancakes, laughing and telling pirate stories. Though just a stone's throw from St. Petersburg, the boys felt like they were worlds away, reveling in their newfound freedom as the infamous pirates of Jackson's Island, if only for a short while. Once upon a time in the enchanting underwater world of Coral Cove, three daring fish friends loved to embark on exciting adventures. Their names were Felix the clownfish, Bella the blue tang, and Max the mischievous minnow. Felix was the leader of the trio, full of funny jokes and daring ideas. Bella was the clever one with a knack for solving problems, while Max, the smallest, had a mischievous streak and loved to pretend to be a superhero. One bright morning, as the sun shimmered through the waves, the trio swam to the edge of Coral Cove. Felix suggested, "Let's explore the sunken ship today. I've heard it's full of mystery and hidden treasures." Belle flicked her fin thoughtfully. "We have to be careful. Uncle Eel once said the ship's ghost spooks around sometimes," she warned. Max twirled excitedly. "Ghosts? Or bad guys? Sounds like the perfect job for Captain Max and his heroic sidekicks." Ignoring their little tingling consciences, the three friends dashed gleefully toward their latest adventure. They swam through colorful coral gardens and over swaying seaweed fields until they reached the old shipwreck. As they explored the rusty decks and forgotten cabins, strange noises echoed around them. "Did you hear that, guys?" Bella whispered. "Is it a ghost?" "It's probably just the old wood creaking," Felix said, trying to sound brave. Max puffed out his chest and declared, "Captain Max fears no ghost. Forward, to find the treasure." Their fins figured a path through seaweed-draped corridors and into the heart of the ancient ship. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a sunken chest, held shut by stubborn seashells. Bella peered closely. "I think we found it." Felix and Max cheered, but as they worked to open the chest, something mysterious slid past their eyes, an old, kind-hearted sea turtle. "What brings you youngsters here?" the turtle inquired, with a twinkle in his eyes. "We were pretending to be heroes and searching for treasure," Max admitted. With a gentle smile, the turtle said, "Young ones, remember that true heroes listen to their hearts and care for every creature, great or small." Humbled by the turtle's wisdom, Felix, Bella, and Max decided that while treasures were fun, their friendship and looking after their ocean home were the best adventures of all. And so, in the clear blue waters of Coral Cove, the trio's thrilling adventures continued, but now their hearts were just as big as their imaginations, and every bit as heroic. Once upon a time, in the little town of St. Petersburg, there lived three adventurous boys, Tom, Joe, and Huck. The trio had decided to run away from home and live like pirates on a small island called Jackson's Island, right in the middle of the Mississippi River. At first, life on the island was a carefree adventure. They spent their days fishing, exploring, and pretending to be fearsome buccaneers. Tom Sawyer, the leader of the group, loved the thrill and freedom that came with their new life. His imagination knew no bounds, and he would weave stories of epic sea battles and hidden treasures that kept their spirits high. Joe Harper was next in command. Though he enjoyed the escapades, Joe couldn't shake the feeling that he missed something warm and comforting from home. His mother's gentle hugs, his father's deep voice, and even his little sister's mischievous laughter danced around his mind like echoes. Huckleberry Finn, or Huck as everyone called him, was usually happy wandering about by himself. But even this little nomad began to feel a tinge of homesickness. For Huck, who didn't have much of a family to miss, it was his little bundle of odds and ends he treasured: a worn-out pipe, a tin doll, and a small picture of a riverboat. He missed those things now, and felt a longing to return to familiar streets. As night would fall, and they would gather around the crackling campfire, chopping wood for the fire, Tom noticed the quietness in the group. Joe and Huck seemed quieter than usual, their laughter subdued, their eyes clouded with a touch of sorrow. Though Tom, too, felt the pull of homesickness, he hid his own longing with more tall tales and jokes. He didn't want to be the first to admit that maybe, just maybe, they should return to the comforts of their homes. Beneath his brave pirate exterior, Tom missed his Aunt Polly's bustling around the house and the sound of church bells on Sunday. Eventually, the unspoken heaviness grew too much to bear. As the stars twinkled like fairy lights above, Joe finally broke the silence, almost too afraid to speak his heart. "Do you ever feel like maybe we should go back?" he asked, his voice shaky. Huck nodded in agreement. "Reckon we can play pirate at home too, can't we?" Finally, Tom smirked. "Well, no harm in one last adventure before we head back, right?" The laughter that followed was lighter, and the loneliness began to melt away. The adventurous trio spent one last magical night on Jackson's Island, their hearts filled with the promise of returning home, knowing that even the greatest of adventures were worth sharing with family. Once in a small, quiet town, there lived a boy named Tom. Now Tom was a mischievous lad, known to his friends as someone who loved surprises. One day, while exploring the nearby woods, Tom stumbled upon an old cave. It was innocent curiosity that pushed him to go inside, but what lay beyond was an adventure. Tom found an ancient diary tucked away in a dusty corner of the cave, and as he flipped through the tales of treasure and mysteries, he lost track of time. Days turned into weeks, and everyone in the town, including his family, feared the worst, that Tom was lost forever. Back home, as the days went by, silence and tears filled Tom's house. His family, neighbors, and friends decided to hold a small funeral to remember the joy he had brought to everyone. Unbeknownst to all, in the late hours of one evening, dust-covered and weary from his unplanned adventure, Tom returned to his beloved town. He tiptoed quietly towards his home, excitement bubbling within as he thought of seeing his family again. Just as he reached the front porch, Tom overheard voices from within. They were planning his funeral. He clearly heard his mom say, Tom loved daisies. Let's fill the garden with them in his memory. His father added, we'll sing his favorite song. Remember how he used to sing it every morning? Tom's heart ached at the thought of their sadness, but the whimsical part of him couldn't resist a little prank. He hatched a plan to surprise everyone in the morning with a cheerful reveal. That night, Tom made sure everyone was asleep before sneaking into the garden. He hung colorful flags and streamers, placed a note on the door that simply said, "Expect the unexpected," and curled up in his old treehouse to get some rest for the big day. Morning came, and Tom watched in delight from the treehouse as his family discovered the decorations. Confusion turned to shock when they saw him waving from above, with that familiar spark in his eyes, shouting, "Surprise! I'm back!" The joyous chaos that ensued was filled with tears of happiness and laughter. Tom's family couldn't have been happier to have him back, and Tom learned that while adventures were thrilling, nothing beat the comforting arms of home. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village, there lived two mischievous boys named Timmy and Tommy. Timmy was the elder and always had a cheeky smile on his face, while Tommy, with his mop of curly red hair, was his loyal partner in every mischief. One day, the boys thought it would be funny to explore the abandoned mill out by the creek. Despite being warned by the villagers about its unsafe condition, the boys went along with their plan. They spent the whole afternoon there, enjoying the thrill of discovering hidden treasures. But as the sun began to set, Timmy and Tommy realized they were lost. Hours passed by, and as darkness claimed the sky, their absence quickly became the talk of the village. The days turned to a week, and the villagers, believing them lost forever, organized a funeral service to honor the boys. The villagers loved Timmy and Tommy, for despite their playful mischiefs, the boys were the heartbeat of their little community. On the day of the service, the church bells tolled mournfully, and the entire village gathered in somber clothing. Tears were shed as everyone recalled the joyous times spent with the boys. Yet just as the service reached its tearful climax, the large wooden doors of the church creaked open slowly. In walked Timmy and Tommy, covered from head to toe in dirt and grime, but alive as the day was long. Their unexpected and grand entrance shocked the mourners, rendering them speechless. For a moment, silence hung in the air, but it was soon broken by the cries of joy. The villagers rushed forward, enveloping the boys in a sea of hugs and laughter. It seemed miraculous that the boys had survived their adventurous folly. Timmy and Tommy had spent days living by the creek, surviving on the apples and wild berries they found in the woods. Ultimately, a helpful raccoon named Rocky led them back to the village. The morning service turned into an impromptu celebration, with everyone thankful and relieved. As the sun set once more, laughter filled the air, and Timmy and Tommy, though tired and hungry, feasted alongside the villagers. From that day forward, Timmy and Tommy knew their adventuring days were far from over, yet understood the value of caution and the love that they had among their village friends.